prayer, a symbol of both Jewish pride and Jewish tragedy. Why did Jews flock there?
The Dome of the Rock is one of the most iconic landmarks in Jerusalem.
בעיר דוד, ליד מעיין הגיחון, בחפירה של רשות העתיקות, בגן לאומי סובב חומות ירושלים.
Not anywhere close to way the model that Yonah designed looked.
Could it be that we've been wrong about the temple's location for 2,000 years? In the heart of Jerusalem lies a site that the entire world watches closely, the Temple Mount. It's not just the spiritual core of the Jewish people, but also a place where faiths intertwine, where the presence of God was once felt. But here's the bombshell. Was the ancient temple really located where we've always believed? Or could it lie elsewhere, deep beneath the city of David? Could the site we call the Temple Mount actually be a Roman fortress? These questions seem simple, yet they're shaking the worlds of archaeology and believers alike. We're taking you on a unique journey through archaeology, history, and the Bible to uncover the truth. Every stone, every wall, every ancient trace will reveal a story hidden for thousands of years. Recent discoveries come at a pivotal moment. As the world changes rapidly, as prophetic signs grow clearer, is this just a coincidence or a signal that God is preparing to return? We won't just recount history. You'll see evidence, walk along ancient foundations, steps, water systems, and artifacts. Each detail tells a story of faith, rituals, and millions who once made pilgrimages here. This isn't abstract theory. Every find, every trace leads us to one truth. The Temple Mount is the center, the place God named, a living testament to faith and history. So, are you ready to step into Jerusalem's greatest mystery? To witness the blend of archaeology and prophecy? To feel for yourself, is God returning in our time? Prepare yourself. On this journey, we'll uncover surprising evidence, challenge shocking theories, and face questions that scholars still debate. Follow along as each stone, each fragment of ancient memory guides you to answers. Who knows, you might see something about the Temple Mount that few dare to imagine. If these mysteries intrigue you, hit like, comment, or share to dive deeper together. And don't miss a moment to learn the prophecies God has been trying to convey to humanity. They're the key to true awakening. Have you ever wondered why major archaeological discoveries are surfacing now? The Temple Mount, Jerusalem's sacred and political heart, is unveiling a mystery many never considered. Some scholars recently proposed that the ancient temple wasn't on the Temple Mount, but in the city of David. Is this coincidence, or a sign God is sending a message about his return? Stories about the Temple Mount have been told for centuries, but not everything aligns with what history books claim. If these new theories are correct, they could transform how we view history and prophecy itself. The writings of Josephus, the Jewish Roman historian, have long shaped the enduring legend that the temple stood on the Temple Mount. But a closer look reveals that many details in his texts may have been misunderstood or distorted by the perspectives of his time. Some modern scholars believe these misunderstandings led to the mistaken belief that the Temple Mount was the sole location. If the temple was actually in the city of David, the biblical prophecies about not one stone left upon another would make complete sense. Looking at the city of David's ruins, artifacts, stairways, water cisterns, and ancient foundations reveals traces of rituals and religious journeys forgotten for millennia. Remarkably, this discovery emerges at a time of global upheaval, leading many to believe God is reminding us of his imminent return. Picture the stones and remnants in the city of David. They're not just lifeless artifacts, but a message from the past, urging us to hold fast to faith, stay vigilant, and yearn for God. Every detail, no matter how small, seems perfectly placed, as if guiding us. Observe, stay awake, for a pivotal moment is near. The temple in the city of David hypothesis doesn't just reinterpret history. It opens a new story about the connection between prophecy, faith, and reality. Today's political and spiritual turmoil makes this discovery all the more striking. as it feels like God is orchestrating everything according to a plan beyond human understanding. What makes this hypothesis even more compelling is its timing. The recent emergence of artifacts and archaeological evidence isn't random. They align with prophecies about the end times, when humanity's fractures and upheavals open the door to profound spiritual signs. Scholars point out that many artifacts in the city of David reveal unique religious rituals performed there thousands of years ago. These aren't chance findings, they form a thread linking history, ancient texts, and prophecy. Look closely, and each stone, each weathered wall, seems to speak. Open your eyes. Listen, for the moment of God's return may be closer than we think. This is what makes it so captivating. Every archaeological discovery isn't just academic or historical. It's a living sign of faith and prophecy. They remind us that what's happening now isn't random, but possibly a direct message from Him to humanity. Imagine standing in the city of David, gazing at ancient stairways, foundations, and time-worn walls. Each detail holds its own story, stirring a sense of closeness, yet challenge. What is God telling us? Is He knocking on our hearts, urging us to stay awake and prepare for what's coming? Ultimately, the Temple in the City of David hypothesis isn't just about archaeology. It's a living message. Look closely, heed the signs, and don't miss His call. Each artifact, each piece of evidence, is an invitation to reflect and connect with deep faith. The timing of these discoveries amid such turbulent times demands we ask the big question: is God returning? And what is He trying to tell each of us right now? We've just explored the Temple in the City of David hypothesis and its fascinating archaeological arguments. But now, let's set speculation aside and face the historical and biblical evidence head-on. Did you know that from Josephus to the Mishnah and Talmud, descriptions paint the temple as a vast complex capable of holding hundreds of thousands of worshippers? This fits perfectly with the current Temple Mount, not the tiny 14-acre city of David suggested by the earlier hypothesis. Let's dive in together and explore every detail: the location of the Antonia fortress, descriptions of Herod's temple, and how the Bible foretold every event that unfolded, to see if history and faith truly walk hand in hand. When reading Josephus, the first-century Jewish historian, we find detailed descriptions of Herod's temple. He wrote, "The temple complex sprawled vast, with courtyards, staircases, and areas for hundreds of thousands of pilgrims, far beyond some small fortress. This understatements I not to sell." This immediately contrasts with the hypothesis that the Temple Mount was merely the Antonia fortress. In reality, the Antonia fortress sat at the northwest corner of the Temple Mount, housing about 600 Roman soldiers, incapable of encompassing the vast area Josephus described. Details of courtyards, gates, and pathways show the Temple Mount could accommodate hundreds of thousands of worshippers during major festivals like Passover, proving its immense capacity. The Mishnah and Talmud, ancient Jewish texts, emphasize the same. They describe rituals, festival feasts, sacrificial activities, and the sheer number of participants, all aligning with a sprawling Temple Mount, not a small plot in the city of David. These details include stairways leading to the temple, mikveh pools for ritual bathing, and areas for animal sacrifices. Every archaeological detail matches these texts. Interestingly, the Antonia fortress, though prominent in Josephus's writings, was a minor part, serving a military purpose. The Antonia wasn't a place of worship. It was a base to oversee the Temple Mount and control crowds. Josephus wrote that from the Antonia Tower, Roman soldiers could watch the entire temple courtyard and intervene when needed, proving the Antonia was just a small corner, not the whole sacred site. The Bible also provides strong evidence for the temple's true location. In Matthew 24:2, Jesus prophesied, "Not one stone will be left on another. All will be destroyed." This verse is often cited when discussing the temple's destruction. If the temple were just a small plot in the city of David, This prophecy wouldn't match the scale of destruction history records when Rome leveled the Temple Mount. This alignment strengthens the belief that the Temple Mount is where prophecy and history intertwine. Moreover, the prophecy in Ezekiel 43:7 describes, "Tell your people that I am with you, and this holy place will be honored forever." Descriptions of a vast area, outer courts, and stairways to the sanctuary suggest preparation for God's presence among His people, fitting the expansive Temple Mount, not the cramped city of David. Archaeological artifacts further prove this. Massive stones unearthed at the Temple Mount, built in Herod's time, dwarf any structures in the city of David in size and durability. Mosaics, inscriptions, and surviving mikvah pools confirm complex ritual activities, nearly impossible in a site as small as the city of David. Another factor is the capacity to serve thousands of pilgrims. The Temple Mount, spanning about 35 acres, could hold hundreds of thousands during major festivals. In contrast, the city of David, at roughly 14 acres, couldn't accommodate the vast crowds mentioned in Josephus and the Talmud. This further solidifies the Temple Mount as the true center of rituals and faith. More importantly, when comparing Josephus, the Mishnah, the Talmud, and archaeology, all evidence points to the Temple Mount. The Antonia fortress remains a part, but not the whole story. Towers, wide courtyards, staircases, mikvah pools, and water systems all attest to a magnificent temple, worthy of being Jerusalem's spiritual heart. From a spiritual and prophetic perspective, the Temple Mount holds even deeper meaning. For thousands of years, this site has witnessed the faith of Jews and Christians, from Solomon's temple to Herod's, to prophecies of the Lord's return. Jesus said in Matthew 24:30, "The Son of Man will appear in the heavens with great power and glory." Every stone at the Temple Mount reminds us that faith and history are inseparable, and every prophecy is gradually guiding us toward future events. Ultimately, the big picture shows that both historical and biblical evidence point to the Temple Mount as Jerusalem's sacred and spiritual center. The Antonia fortress was just a northwest corner, too small to replace the grand mission of this vast site. Every detail, from Josephus, the Mishnah, the Talmud, to archaeological finds, confirms the Temple Mount as the place of God's presence and His return, illuminating the prophecies written in the Bible. We've just explored the historical and biblical evidence, revealing that the temple wasn't in the city of David, but what lies beneath the Temple Mount's soil. What stories might the stones, ritual pools, and thousands of artifacts tell about this sacred past? Let's peel back the layers of earth and stone to uncover the archaeological traces where faith and history intersect, revealing mysteries yet untold. And don't forget to follow through to the end of this section, because every artifact, every remnant, is a vital link to the prophecy that God is still fulfilling. When stepping into the archaeological world around Temple Mount, the first thing that strikes you is the massive stone ruins, still bearing the marks of quarrying from thousands of years ago. These stones aren't just architectural feats. They tell the story of a central hub for Jewish worship, where hundreds of thousands of devotees once gathered during major festivals. Beneath the surface of Temple Mount, ritual pools and mikvahs, ceremonial bath structures, appear in dense clusters, reminding us of the vibrant spiritual life of ancient Jews. Each mikvah, whether small or large, testifies to this being a place of meticulous ritual preparation, where every act was aimed at purification and reverence. The Temple Mount Sifting Project is the most vivid proof. Over 750,000 artifacts from the Temple period have been uncovered, from pottery shards and inscribed stones to intricate ritual items. They all point to the large-scale and complex ceremonial activity at this mount, far beyond any ordinary settlement. What's fascinating is the contrast with the city of David. There, archaeologists have only found residential homes, pottery, and everyday items, no trace of temple structures, showing that the theory of the temple being located there doesn't hold up to archaeological evidence. Looking closer at the stone ruins, you can see multiple layers of construction, each reflecting a different historical period, from Solomon's time to Herod's, and even post-Roman eras. The massive stones, weighing tons and precisely cut, reveal advanced building techniques reserved for sacred structures, not homes or military forts. Each mikvah is a living testament. They weren't just for personal use, but reflect the need for mass purification for thousands of worshippers. The dense distribution of mikvahs shows that Temple Mount was a bustling ritual center, where religious ceremonies took place daily, monthly, and especially during major festivals. The Temple Mount Sifting Project also uncovered small stones with Hebrew inscriptions, proof that this was once a hub of education and the transmission of God's Word. These fragmented inscriptions, though small, tell a story of faith and belief in God's presence among His people. Taken together, the archaeological traces show that Temple Mount wasn't just an ordinary hill, but the heart of a civilization where worship, learning, and pilgrimage intertwined. This strengthens the view that this is the true location of the temple, where the prophecies of the Bible are gradually coming to life. What's remarkable is that even small artifacts, like pottery, shards, and ritual tools, show the careful investment and reverence of the ancient Jewish community. Each item reflects faith, devotion, and loyalty to God, reminding us that Temple Mount was truly a sacred pilgrimage site. Even after the Roman destruction, the remaining stones and artifacts found through the Sifting Project provide undeniable evidence of the temple's grandeur. Temple Mount isn't just a historical site, it's a living testament to faith, where every stone, mikvah, and artifact tells a story of God's presence. These discoveries also explain why so many archaeologists, scholars, and believers see this area as deeply tied to the prophecy of God's return. This was the spiritual heart, where God's presence endured through generations, where faith and spiritual acts converged. And if you've ever wondered why Temple Mount captivates archaeologists and the faithful alike, the answer lies in the stones, mikvahs, and artifacts sifted over years. Each one is a bridge between past and present, reminding us that history and faith are inseparable. It's astonishing that, while the city of David holds archaeological value, it shows no signs of a temple. This makes us even more certain that Temple Mount, with its stone ruins, ritual pools, and mikvahs, is the true sacred center where ceremonies, prayers, and prophecies converge. From a spiritual perspective, every stone on Temple Mount reminds believers of God's presence and His promise of return. The ritual pools and mikvahs aren't just physical structures. They're vibrant markers of faith, evidence of a long history tied to belief and prophecy. Even the smallest fragments found by the Sifting Project carry meaning. They recreate a lively scene of a place where hundreds of thousands gathered, studied, and worshipped, from Herod's time to today. Each artifact is living proof, debunking any theory that the temple was in the city of David. When you take in the whole area, from massive stones, mikvahs, and ritual pools to the over 750,000 sifted artifacts, Temple Mount emerges not just as a hill, but as a center of ritual, history, and spirituality, where faith and archaeology meet. And this leads us to a crucial realization. Temple Mount isn't just a memory. It's a living sign of prophecy. Every stone, artifact, and ritual pool reminds us that this was a worship center and still holds a sacred role in history and faith. You could say these archaeological traces connect the past to the present, reviving faith in God's return, as foretold in the Bible. Temple Mount is powerful proof that history, archaeology, and faith go hand in hand, with every artifact, big or small, a piece of that grand puzzle. As we dive into the water sources of Temple Mount, think about the reservoirs and channels unearthed by archaeology. Was this place dependent on the Gihon Spring, as older theories suggested? Or was water cleverly channeled from Bethlehem to to serve the rituals. Let's explore to see that every detail isn't just technical, but also evidence of the perfection spoken of in God's prophecy. The theory placing the temple in the city of David rests on simple logic. It's near the Gihon Spring, the only natural water source for rituals. The Gihon Spring appears often in the Bible and was mentioned during King Solomon's anointing. But could Gihon alone provide enough water for complex purification rituals, or for hundreds of thousands during major festivals? Modern archaeology reveals that the Temple Mount had a sophisticated water system, including cisterns, channels, and underground pipes. Water was collected from rainfall and channeled from Bethlehem, a plentiful source, providing a steady supply for all rituals. These cisterns were large enough to support everything from animal sacrifices to public baptisms before major festivals. The water scarcity hypothesis at the Temple Mount is therefore baseless. Archaeological cisterns still exist today, with capacities reaching thousands of cubic meters, proving the ancients prepared meticulously. Without needing the Gihon Spring or any other natural source, the Temple Mount was entirely self-sufficient for all religious needs. A key piece of evidence is the water channel from Bethlehem, running through underground layers, cisterns, and conduits. Archaeologists confirm traces of this channel remain, showing the Temple Mount was designed to serve thousands of pilgrims without water shortages. This system also explains why biblical rituals involving purification, hand-washing, foot-washing, and animal sacrifices could be performed on a large scale. In Exodus 30-18:1, God instructs Moses to set up a bronze basin for priests to wash their hands and feet before rituals. The Temple Mount's water system perfectly aligns with this directive, reflecting sophisticated and thorough preparation. In contrast, if the temple were located in the city of David, large-scale rituals would rely on the Gihon Spring, an uncontrolled water source, which hardly matches descriptions in the Mishnah or Talmud about Passover festivals. The Mishnah records hundreds of thousands participating, all needing water for hand-washing, foot-washing, and preparing sacrificial animals. Only the Temple Mount could handle this scale. Archaeology also uncovered underground cisterns fed from Bethlehem, not only serving rituals, but also providing drinking water, cooling courtyards, and protecting structures from harsh weather. This explains why the Temple Mount was considered the perfect spiritual center, where God's presence dwelt and prophecies were fulfilled. The system of cisterns, channels, and pipes was more than engineering. It was evidence of God's perfect preparation, ensuring uninterrupted rituals and spiritual purification for His people. Even in modern rituals, like hand-washing before entering the sanctuary, the Temple Mount's water design remains the standard, something the Gihon Spring could not achieve. The water supply from Bethlehem through an artificial system was a wise and sacred choice, aligning with prophecies about God's return and the purification of human souls. Ezekiel 47:1-12 speaks of water flowing from the temple, bringing life to all creatures and the land. The Temple Mount's man-made water system became a symbol of perfection, refinement, and divinity in God's work. With archaeological and biblical evidence, the water scarcity hypothesis at the Temple Mount is debunked. Instead, we see a complete system serving all rituals, spiritual journeys, and recorded prophecies. The water flowing through cisterns, channels, and underground pipes testifies to wisdom and holiness, making this place worthy of being Jerusalem's spiritual center. Understanding the water supply, purification system, and alignment with prophecy, the Temple Mount emerges not only through archaeological eyes, but also through faith and hope, where every detail fits God's perfect plan. Looking at Jerusalem today, it's easy to get caught up in the remaining stone walls and forget that Jesus' prophecy pointed to a different truth. He spoke not of the surrounding walls, but of the temple's buildings, the heart of all rituals, where God's presence once dwelt. Looking at Jerusalem today, it's easy to focus on the remaining stone walls and forget that Jesus' prophecy referred to the temple's buildings, not the surrounding walls. In Matthew 24:2, he said, Not one stone will be left upon another. All will be thrown down. The temple was indeed completely destroyed in 70 CE, but the surrounding retaining walls remained, proving the prophecy was fully fulfilled. The Temple Mount was once the heart of Jerusalem, where hundreds of thousands of worshippers gathered, and every ritual was performed according to biblical guidance. Though its main structures have crumbled, the remaining walls remind us that earthly power is fleeting, but God's plan is eternal. As Luke 21:28 teaches, when these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. The sophisticated water system at the Temple Mount, with its cisterns, channels, and underground pipes from Bethlehem, proves God's perfect preparation. It supported every purification ritual, from washing hands and feet for the priests, as outlined in Exodus 30:18-1. You shall place a bronze basin between the courtyard, and the priests shall wash their hands and feet there before entering the holy place. This system ensured major rituals were fully carried out, something the natural water from the Gihon spring could not sustain. Jesus also spoke of signs before his return: wars, famines, earthquakes, and celestial phenomena, called the birth pains of the end times. Matthew 24:6-8. These signs urge us to stay awake and prepare our hearts. Revelation 22:12-1-3 emphasizes, "Behold, I am coming soon, bringing my reward with me, to repay each one for what they have done." The Temple Mount is not just an archaeological witness, it's a spiritual invitation. Every stone, every stream, every remaining wall declares that God is present and his word is being fulfilled. Ezekiel 47:1-12 describes water flowing from the temple, giving life to all creatures, perfectly aligning with the discovered man-made water system, symbolizing purification and preparation for the Lord's return. The surviving walls, foundations, and water system, all weaving together history, the present, and prophecy, remind us that the Lord's return is near. As Matthew 25:13 teaches, "Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour." The Temple Mount, in every detail, is a living testament to God's promise that he will return, and every prophecy will be fully realized. All evidence, from scripture, archaeology, and history, converges on one truth: the ancient temple truly stood on the Temple Mount. No hypothesis, however intriguing, can deny this reality. The theory placing the temple in the city of David is merely a distraction. It sparks curiosity, but crumbles under the scrutiny of physical and historical evidence. The Temple Mount remains a sacred cornerstone, witnessing every ritual and divine manifestation. Look at the remaining walls, the intricate water system, and every archaeological detail as signs reminding us God was present, is watching, and every prophecy is coming to pass. This isn't just history. It's a spiritual call to awaken, prepare our hearts, and turn to him. Don't just be a bystander. Open your heart, explore, and let the truth illuminate your faith. The Temple Mount isn't merely a place of the past. It's a living testament to God's presence, reminding us that he is near, and every promise will be fulfilled. If this journey touches your heart, please like and follow the channel to keep exploring these sacred mysteries. Share a prayer in the comments. Let your heart's voice reach God, and join in the journey of faith.
I thought I wasn't going to wake up again. My body felt cold and everything around me faded. I heard the heart monitor stop, then silence. A strange kind of silence, like the whole world had vanished. Then I couldn't see anything anymore. No pain, no fear, just lightness. I didn't know where I was, only that I wasn't lying in that hospital bed anymore. Around me was light, not blinding, but soft, warm, like the light itself was breathing. I stood in a place all white, light as a cloud. In the distance, I saw a gate, a golden gate, shining bright like the sun was inside it. I walked toward it, step by step. With each step, my heart felt calmer, like I wasn't afraid of anything anymore. And then I saw him, a man in a white robe standing in front of the gate. The light around him was brighter than anything I'd ever seen. But it didn't hurt my eyes. It felt familiar, safe. I don't know why, but deep inside, I knew. It was Jesus. I didn't need anyone to tell me. I just knew, like my soul had recognized him from before. He looked at me, his smile so gentle. His eyes made me want to run and hug him. No more fear of death, pain, or sickness. It all melted away. He spoke softly, his voice warm and slow. You've come very close to heaven, but your time hasn't come yet. The people who love you are waiting for you below. I remember every word. When he finished speaking, the light around me started to move, like a gentle breeze pulling me away. I couldn't resist it. All I felt inside was regret. I didn't want to leave that place, because there, I felt a peace I'd never had in the hospital. But then, I heard my mom's voice, her crying, her calling my name over and over. The sound grew clearer, and the light started to fade. I opened my eyes. Everything was blurry, and slowly came into focus. I saw my mom holding my hand tightly, her tears soaking my hand. I couldn't say anything, just looked at her and cried too. At that moment, I understood God had brought me back. Not because I deserved it, but because he still had a reason for me to stay. I don't know how to explain it. I just know one thing for sure. Heaven is real. That light is real. And God's love is real. I saw it, heard it, felt it. Since that day, I'm not afraid of dying anymore. I'm only afraid of living and forgetting him.
These are the heartfelt words shared by Anna, a 13-year-old girl born with a congenital heart condition that doctors once said would make it nearly impossible to survive her teenage years. Throughout her years in the hospital, her life was tied to ventilators, IV lines, and sudden chest pains. But then, one day, her heart stopped. The entire medical team thought hope was lost. And yet, she woke up saying she had met God. At first, some might think it was just a hallucination after a coma. But the strange thing is, Anna's eyes, her voice, the peace she radiated, they were all different. No more fear, no more pain, just a complete faith. And that's what makes me believe this story isn't just a medical miracle, but a reminder from heaven. When Anna described seeing a golden gate shining brightly in the distance, I thought of Revelation 21:21. The gates of the city were made of pearls, and the streets of the city were pure gold, transparent as glass. How could a child who never read the Bible describe a vision of heaven so perfectly aligned with that scripture? Could it be that God showed her a glimpse of that glory to remind us that the kingdom of heaven is real? And when Anna said, "He told me my time hadn't come yet," I shivered, recalling Psalm 139:16. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. Our lives aren't random. God has a plan for every breath, every moment, even when medicine says it's impossible. Death isn't in human hands. It's in God's hands. I noticed Anna didn't describe fear. She didn't talk about darkness or pain, but about light, warm, peaceful. And that reminded me of John 8:12, when Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Could it be that in the moment her soul left her body, Anna truly stepped into that light, where there are no more tears, no more sickness? The more I listened, the more I felt that God didn't just save Anna from death. He touched the hearts of everyone hearing her story. Through her trembling voice, I sensed what the Bible calls grace, a grace that changes both the teller and the listener. When she woke up, the first person she saw was her mother, holding her hand tightly, crying silently. That scene made me think of the Father welcoming the prodigal son in Luke 15. No matter how far we stray, even to the edge of death, the Creator's love finds a way to bring us back. And those hands of her mother, aren't they a reflection of God's love made visible? Some ask me, if God is good, why does He let a child suffer with illness? That question hurts. But the answer lies in this very story. Because without those years of weakness, Anna might never have felt His saving power. As Paul said in 2 Corinthians 12-9, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." It's in pain that miracles are revealed. Anna's story isn't just about death. It's about life triumphing over death. A child saw what many doubt their whole lives, that heaven isn't just a distant idea, but a reality full of light and love, waiting for us after this fleeting journey. I remember a small detail Anna shared, that the light felt alive. It's not just a beautiful image. It carries deep meaning, that light is God. As 1 John 1-5 says, God is light. In Him there is no darkness at all. When a human soul touches that light, all fear vanishes. And Anna, with the eyes of a child, felt what adults sometimes forget. Faith doesn't need proof, only feeling. If you're watching this and still wondering, is heaven real? Maybe Anna's story is your answer. Because sometimes, God doesn't appear in thunder or voices from the sky, but in the quiet words of a child, just back from the edge of death. You might be facing illness, loss, or fear of the future. But remember, if God can bring a girl whose heart stopped back to life, He can breathe new life into your weary heart today. Faith isn't escaping reality. It's seeing light in the darkness. And in Anna's eyes, I see that light. Not from hospital machines, but from a living faith in the Savior. We often look for miracles in grand things, but sometimes a miracle is just one more breath, a faint heartbeat, or a smile after tears. Like Anna, a child who walked the line between life and death, only to tell the world something simple. Heaven is real, and so is God's love. The story of that little girl brought tears to many eyes, not only because of the miracle of her coming back to life, but because in that moment between life and death, she saw God. But what makes us reflect even more is that not just one, but many people have experienced this moment. The next story will be even more mysterious and wondrous. Her story isn't as dazzling as a miracle, but simple, quiet, and because of that, it touches the deepest parts of the hearts of those who've ever felt weary of this life. Come with me to the next story, shall we?
I met God, and He said to me, "Do not be afraid. You are returning to where you truly belong." I still remember that moment when everything around me seemed to freeze. No sound, no images, just an endless expanse of white. Then I found myself floating, light as mist, weightless. Around me was a soft light, golden like honey, radiating from a stream of crystal clear water. Beneath my feet were smooth white stones, polished as if they'd been there for 1,000 years. In the distance, I saw desert-colored stone walls, rounded domes gleaming with gold. Everything was strangely quiet. A gentle breeze carried the scent of incense. I walked, somehow, without knowing how. Before me stood an ancient temple, its walls covered in moss, its door slightly ajar. From within, a warm light spilled out, as if waiting to welcome me, belong. I stepped inside. There were no statues, no lamps, just a glow emanating from the center of the room. That light didn't scare me. It felt like it was embracing my heart. And then a voice rang out, not from outside, but echoing deep within me. "Don't be afraid. You're returning to where you truly belong." I stood still. My heart felt like it might burst. For years, I'd worked tirelessly, night shifts, rushing through hospital wards, trying to save every life, but I'd never found true peace. I asked myself, God, are you there? And now he was here, speaking to me. This light isn't here to end you, he said. It's calling you home. I looked around. On the temple walls, ancient script appeared, soft like moonlight. I couldn't understand the words, but I felt them. They spoke of wanderers called back, of hope after suffering. I saw an image of a lamb resting by a stream and an olive tree blooming in the desert. I understood that was me, a lost soul, found again. I've been with you in every breath, he continued, even when you couldn't see me belong. I fell to my knees, hands trembling. His words sank deep into my heart. I saw his hands, large, radiant, full of love, placed on my chest. The pain that once made it hard to breathe suddenly felt warm, belong. All my fears, all my regrets melted away. You've walked too long in darkness, he said. Now step into peace, belong. The temple door opened. A breeze swept through, carrying the scent of earth, wood, and resin. The light grew brighter, but not blinding. I saw figures moving forward, people I'd never met but felt so familiar. Some knelt in prayer, others smiled. In the distance was a valley bathed in light, where a cross stood among white flowers. Everything was so peaceful, belong. Nothing you do can make me stop loving you. When he said that, I no longer felt fear or guilt. My heart was filled with a love no words could describe. A real love, non-judgmental, unconditional, embracing me like a father holding a child who'd wandered too far. Then the light began to fade. I felt myself falling, but there was no pain, no fear, just the sense of being given back to life. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital room. The machines were beeping, the oxygen mask still on my face, belong. My colleagues were crying, gripping my hand tightly. I heard someone gasp, she's alive. I don't know how long I was on the other side, but my heart beats differently now. Slower, deeper. Each pulse felt like someone whispering, I'm still here. Since that day, every time I walk through the hospital corridors and see a patient in pain, I remember his words. I've been with you in every breath. Now I understand. He's not just in grand miracles, but in the smallest moments of life. When I wipe sweat from a patient's brow, when I'm so exhausted I just want to sit and cry, he's still there, quietly, but so close. I won't claim I've become holier, but since that moment, I've slowed down. I'm grateful for every breath, every sunrise, every hand I hold. And I believe none of us can stray so far that God won't find us. He found me. In the moment, I thought I'd lost everything. And now, I just want to live the rest of my life telling others that light is real, he is real, and he's right there with each of us, waiting for us to step out of the darkness and come home.
Chloe was deeply moved as she recounted her entire story. Her full name is Chloe Matthews, 35 years old, a nurse working in the ICU of a major hospital in Texas. She works in the intensive care unit, where life and death are separated by just a few breaths. Every day brings grueling overnight shifts, the blare of alarms, and motionless bodies on hospital beds. She said that sometimes she no longer knows who she's saving or if she's slowly losing herself. Then, one rainy night, after a 14-hour shift, Chloe was in an accident. Everything went dark. And in that moment between life and death, she saw him. When I heard Chloe's story, what struck me wasn't the light or the strange voice, but how she described the scene around her. She said, I felt like I was lifted out of my body, drifting through a strange land. There were hills of stone, withered olive trees, and ancient walls carved with Hebrew. Do you realize? That's the image of ancient Jerusalem, the land mentioned over 800 times in the Bible. In Isaiah 2-3, it's written, For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. It's no coincidence that her mind saw that place. In that near-death moment, her soul was drawn to the very place where the Lord once walked, the source of redemption. She said she walked in a warm, dim light, leading to an ancient temple. The strange thing was, it looked brand new, as if it had just been rebuilt. And that detail reminded me of Revelation 21:2, where John saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. Could it be that Chloe didn't just see an ancient land, but was given a glimpse of the new holy city, a symbol of resurrection, of healing? As she entered, there were no voices, no music, just a holy silence. She felt a presence so powerful, it was as if her heart stopped. And then he appeared, not in a form, but as a presence, one that made her want to kneel, to weep, and feel enveloped by unconditional love. There will be skeptics about her story, saying things like, "How can you be sure it was real? How do you know she wasn't dreaming?" But consider this. In the Bible, every time someone faces darkness and is saved by God, they describe the same feeling, a peace that surpasses all understanding. Paul wrote in Philippians 4:7, "And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Chloe said the same. She felt no fear, no panic, only peace. And that's the subtlest proof that she didn't see a hallucination, but encountered the very presence of God. What struck me was her final words. "When I woke up, I wasn't afraid of death anymore. I was only afraid of living without him." That sentence sums up her entire experience, from exhaustion and despair to touching true life. And if you've ever been in Chloe's place, lost, drained, adrift in life, know this: you might be closer to a miracle than you think. Looking at her testimony, we can see three clear biblical layers. First, her soul's drifting journey echoes Psalm 23:4. "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." God isn't just in churches. He's right there in the darkness of despair, where Chloe lay, ready to give up. Second, the shining new temple she saw is a prophetic image of the new temple in Revelation, a reminder that what we see as broken on earth will be restored by God in eternity. Third, God told her, "I'm not done with you." That's the spirit of Jeremiah 29:11. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." See? Every detail of Chloe's experience isn't random. It all fits a biblical pattern that only God could orchestrate. Her story isn't meant to make us fear death, but to remind us that God is still present, still calling each of us back to Him. You may not see a brilliant light, a temple, or hear a voice from heaven, but when you're weary and a quiet thought stirs in your heart, "I want to believe, but I'm too weak," remember, that's when God is closest to you. Maybe you've noticed too, sometimes miracles don't just come in moments of crisis, but in the quiet, exhausting pain that wears you down. We've heard of people saved from the brink of death, touched by God at the edge of life and death. But what about those dying inside? Those who aren't lying in a hospital bed, but whose souls are drained, their faith nearly shattered. Join me in the third story to learn more about the love that God has given us, okay?
I met God and He said to me, "Your pain is not meaningless, it's for soul. You prayed for peace, but peace only comes to those who dare to face the darkness. Turn back. There are still those who need you. I didn't bring you here to escape suffering, but to transform your suffering into light." At that moment, I didn't know where I was. I only remember a gentle breeze, like someone's hand brushing through my hair. Everything around me blurred. No longer the darkness of the room, no longer the sound of rain outside the window, just a soft light, like morning mist, spreading through my body. I looked down and saw myself standing in a vast field, tiny white flowers swaying, like whispering souls.
In the distance was a golden gate, slightly ajar, glowing brightly yet not blinding, radiating a warmth that made my heart tremble. Then I saw him. A figure stepped out from the light, clothed in a white robe, hair woven from the glow of a sunset. I didn't need to ask. I knew it was God. All the fear, resentment, and pain in my heart suddenly vanished, as if his mere glance illuminated everything within me. I knelt down. I had no strength left to speak, only to weep. The tears I thought had dried up since the day my child left me now flowed again, salty as the first time I learned what loss was. He looked at me, not with judgment or explanation, just that gaze filled with a love no words could describe. I asked him in a voice barely audible, "Why, my child? Why did you let me lose the one I loved most?" God came closer, his hand gently touching my shoulder. At that moment, I saw a small child step out from behind him, my child. But unlike the last night I held them, they were no longer frail, no longer in pain. They were smiling. On their shoulders were tiny white wings, delicate as morning mist. They ran toward me, saying nothing, only placing a hand on my chest, right where my heart once felt shattered. And then I heard their laughter echo across the field, mingling with the breeze like the songs of angels. God spoke softly. "Do you see, nothing is lost in me. I keep everything you love, in a place with no more tears, no more time." I sobbed, not from pain anymore, but from touching something sacred, the truth that my child's soul had never left me. Behind God, I saw countless angels standing in rows, their robes like moonlight, their eyes radiant yet gentle. They began to sing a hymn in a language I didn't understand, but each word warmed my heart, as if wrapped in grace. Then I realized this place wasn't heaven in its fullness. It was like a crossroads between the world and eternity, where souls are healed before returning. God placed his hand on my head and said, "I know you wanted to give up, but you were created not to break. You will return, not as a grieving mother, but as a light for lost souls." The light around me flared, like 1,000 petals dancing in the wind. I wanted to stay, to hold my child longer, but my hands grasped only air. My child smiled, stepping back toward the light, their tiny wings fluttering, and then they were gone. God's voice came, soft as a breath. "Your time is not yet finished. Go back and tell what you have seen, so those who have lost faith can find me in their darkness." Then the field vanished, the light receded, and I felt my heart beat again. I opened my eyes and found myself in the hospital room, dried tears on my cheeks. Beside me was the small cross I always held when praying, its light reflected in my eyes, strangely warm. I knew I had touched something beyond human understanding. No one could convince me it was just a dream. Because from that day on, whenever I pray, I feel a small warmth touch my hand, as if someone is still holding it, still here with me. And I understood. Pain isn't meant to punish, but to lead us to the light. My child isn't gone, only returned before me, to the place God promised. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more.
Those were the heartfelt words shared by Lily, a young mother, just 29 years old. She once thought she had it all: a cozy home, a loving husband, and the joy of impending motherhood. But then, in a single moment, everything slipped away. She miscarried. The first child she had cherished in every prayer, left her before even opening their eyes to the world. From that day on, every evening, Lily would go to church. She'd sit in the back pew, quietly gazing at the cross, tears streaming down her face. She didn't blame God, but she wanted to ask, why? And then, one still night, she had that dream. A dream she believes was a visit from God himself. If you pay attention, every detail in Lily's dream carries deep meaning, most of it rooted in Scripture. And even more striking, the dream has an almost unbelievable repetition. Let's unpack it together and see if maybe, just maybe, this dream wasn't only for Lily, but for us too. First, there's the white field. In John 4:35, Jesus said, "Look, the fields are ripe for harvest." The field in her dream isn't just a place of rest. It's a symbol of readiness, of souls purified and waiting for reunion. For Lily, it might be a message that her child isn't gone, but is in another field, a place free of tears or pain. The child. It's not just the image of the baby she lost. In the Bible, children represent purity, unshakable faith, and sometimes even angels, messengers sent by God to comfort the suffering. The child smiled at Lily, saying nothing, but that smile was enough to tell her, "Mom, I'm at peace." And then there's the detail that stunned so many. The golden gate. Lily said it didn't open, it just glowed faintly, as if waiting. In Revelation 21:21, the golden gate is the gate of heaven, made of pearl, with streets paved in pure gold. Could this be a sign that she glimpsed the boundary between earth and the kingdom of God? But here's something even stranger. The white field and golden gate, they're not new. Does it sound familiar? Anna mentioned them too. She spoke of a white field and a golden gate, leading to a place of light and singing angels. The strange thing is, two strangers, two different dreams, yet they describe the same scene down to the smallest details. Is this just a coincidence? Or is it a message from heaven, repeated through the most sensitive souls, children, and those in pain? We can't know for sure. But if you notice, both dreams came at moments of deepest vulnerability, when their hearts were open, searching for something greater than themselves. Perhaps it's when we're most broken that God can step in most easily. In the final part of her dream, Lily said that as light enveloped her, everything faded, leaving only a distant song, a voice as soft as the wind, singing words she couldn't understand, but that brought tears to her eyes. When she woke, Lily wasn't afraid. Instead, she felt lighter, as if the weight of guilt, loss, and resentment had been washed away. And if you look closely, the golden light surrounding Lily when she awoke is the meeting point of two worlds, where the human soul touches the divine. Peace in God. Maybe that child didn't come to say goodbye, but to say, "See you again." Can you feel it? This dream isn't just for Lily. It's for everyone who's ever lost something, who's ever whispered, "God, do you hear my prayers?" The white field and golden gate, they might just be symbols of hope, a promise that every soul is loved, no matter where they are. If you're reading this, maybe God himself is inviting you to pause for a moment, close your eyes, and ask your heart, do I believe that behind every pain, there's still a golden gate waiting for me to step toward? It's not by chance that you're here, not a coincidence that you're hearing these words, because God is still knocking on every heart, quietly, patiently, and full of love. And who knows, when you close your eyes tonight, you might just feel that gentle light, not to pull you along, but to remind you that you've never been alone. Please share your story in the comments or a prayer so God can touch your heart. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can meet again in the next videos. Thank you for being here. Amen.
Local residents used their bare hands to dig through what was left of their timber and mud brick homes.
Overnight on Florida's Gulf Coast, Hurricane Helene, a catastrophic Category 4.
For thousands of years, humanity has hunted for a legend. For millennia, mankind has pursued an object believed to carry the power of God Himself, the Ark of the Covenant. A sacred golden chest that once parted seas, toppled cities, and made enemies tremble, only to vanish from history over 2,500 years ago. From Egypt to Ethiopia to Jerusalem, countless expeditions have set out with the same burning desire to find where the Ark of the Covenant is hidden. Yet every trace of it has dissolved like mist. No one knows where it is or why it disappeared. But then a strange signal emerged. At the heart of Jerusalem's old city, archaeologists detected an energy source emanating from more than 30 meters underground, a frequency that matched the rhythm of an ancient hymn recorded in the Bible from the time of Moses. The excavation leader said only one thing before the area was sealed off: "This isn't just a relic, it's alive." Since then, rumors have spread like wildfire. Some claim they saw green light glowing from the earth. Others swear they heard trumpets echoing in the night, the sound the Bible describes as the voice of God. Is this merely a natural phenomenon, or a sign of something greater, a wake-up call from heaven? As radar, ground scanners, and magnetic sensors zero in on Jerusalem, people are starting to realize every coordinate, every legend, every prophecy, they all converge on a single point. A metallic structure lies deep beneath the ancient temple's foundation, shaped exactly as the book of Exodus describes the Ark of the Covenant. Could it be that, after millennia of silence, this sacred object is ready to return? Could this be God's call, signaling the moment the covenant will be restored? No one has a definitive answer. But one thing is undeniable. The world stands before a mystery that humbles both science and faith. And perhaps, when that door is opened, humanity won't just uncover an artifact, but face the return of God Himself. Watch until the end of the video to hear the profound instructions God has entrusted to His children through this ancient treasure. What you're about to hear next will answer every question swirling in your mind right now. Stay with us to witness what humanity has longed to find for thousands of years. Because up next, we'll descend into a place the world has never set foot in, where, perhaps, the Ark of the Covenant awaits its awakening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single moment of this monumental revelation. They say every mystery lies beneath the stones, but no one could have imagined that right under the heart of Jerusalem's old city, where millions of pilgrims kneel in prayer each year, there exists an unrecorded void. It's not a tomb, nor an ancient treasure trove. It's a perfect rectangle, 2.5 cubits long and 1.5 wide, matching the exact dimensions of the Ark of the Covenant as described in the Bible. A coincidence so precise that even archaeologists admit this can't be random. Right after the signal was confirmed, the research team began exploratory drilling. Each drill bit descending was a moment of suspense, because below it wasn't just rock, but possibly history waiting to be awakened. When the drill hit a hollow layer, all the radiation detection equipment spiked simultaneously. Abnormal ionization, energy levels akin to those around nuclear reactors, yet no radioactive source was present. No one on the team could explain it. And at that moment, the excavation leader gave the order: "Stop. We're no longer digging for archaeology. We're touching the sacred." But human curiosity always outweighs fear. A young engineer, carrying a fiber optic camera, secretly lowered a probe through a small crack in the stone. When the first light pierced through, the screen before them lit up, and everyone held their breath. Amid the dust-covered darkness of time, a solid gold object emerged. Two intricately carved wings spread wide, as if shielding an empty space in the center. On the front, an ancient Hebrew inscription was etched deep into the metal: the throne of His name. Not a replica, not an idol. It was a true Ark of the Covenant. As they expanded the chamber, they realized it resembled no known relic. Thin bronze rods ran along the stone floor, interwoven like a high-energy circuit grid. On the walls, cedar wood was scorched black, traces of an intense energy discharge. Even the stone floor had melted in places, crystallizing into transparent glass. Everything pointed to one thing. An immense energy source had once been unleashed here. But how? In an era without electricity or machinery, no one could fathom. When dust and debris samples were sent for analysis, the results stunned the scientific community. The ionized particles had an isotopic structure similar to materials in modern particle accelerators. One physicist could only exclaim, "We're facing technology thousands of years ahead of humanity." Something ate this roding, and what silenced everyone was a small piece of wood found beneath the ark's gold layer. Not cedar, not acacia, but an unidentified species. Under a microscope, its cellular structure was unnaturally dense, capable of conducting electricity and resisting decay, something even modern synthetic materials can't achieve. Amid the glint of gold and dust, an invisible energy seemed to pulse. This wasn't just an artifact. It was alive, emitting a faint, low hum, like a heartbeat. An audio expert tried using a low-frequency microphone. The recorded sound had a rhythmic waveform, perfectly matching the acoustic ratio of the breath of the divine in ancient Sumerian hymns. There was no doubt, whatever lay underground was responding to human presence. As the chamber's lid was widened, the air in the room grew heavier. A faint heat wafted out, carrying the scent of metal and ancient dust. Then, suddenly, the electromagnetic sensors detected a fluctuation, a pulse of energy emanating from the object's core. All devices flickered, lights dimmed and flared back. The entire chamber trembled slightly, as if something had awakened from a millennia-long slumber. An archaeologist whispered, "If this is truly the throne of his name, we may have just knocked on heaven's door." No one spoke further. In that moment, all theories became meaningless, leaving only a sacred awe filling the chamber. When the light shone on the golden surface, the reflected light fractured into thousands of rays, as if responding, as if watching them back. Experts later called it the sacred resonance phenomenon, when the object emitted vibrations interacting with Earth's magnetic field. But for those with faith, they believed one thing: God has never left this world. He's only waited for humanity to be brave enough to find him. From that day, the chamber was sealed off completely. No one was allowed access, no images were released. But among scholars, rumors spread. An ancient text was found beneath the ark's pedestal, bearing a single inscription: "Do not open the lid until the appointed time." And so, the question echoed everywhere. Could it be that the appointed time is near? Could it be that, after over 2,500 years, the Ark of the Covenant has not only been found, but is about to be awakened? One thing every archaeologist learns after centuries of digging in Jerusalem: each time the dust is brushed away, history changes. They thought uncovering the chamber beneath the old city was the pinnacle. But no, it was only the first door to a deeper mystery, challenging faith, science, and human understanding. From the shards of stone buried for thousands of years, a discovery turned everything upside down. Faint Proto-Hebrew inscriptions carved on the surface, deciphered after weeks using light spectrum scanning technology. The trembling words emerged: "He commanded," and the ark was moved before the house was completed. That inscription left the entire research team stunned. If this is true, it means the Ark of the Covenant, once seen in King Solomon's temple, was never the original. A perfect replica was placed there, like a diversion, to protect the true Ark from those who would hunt it for millennia. Questions arose: who moved the Ark, and why did they know it would be sought after? Historians found, in the same rock crevice, a metal fragment fused to the stone, seemingly once part of the Ark itself. When analyzed, the results forced the lab to triple-check. The metal contained iridium and osmium, to extremely rare elements found only in meteorites from outer space. No metallurgy from Solomon's time, or even today, could replicate that atomic structure. It was almost immune to decay, capable of holding a natural electric charge, as if designed for a purpose beyond human understanding. Some scientists fell silent, others flatly denied it, but some, whispering quietly, said, "The Ark of the Covenant isn't just a holy object, it's a junction between heaven and earth." Because in the Bible, God sat enthroned above the mercy seat. And if the true Ark bears the inscription, "Throne of His Name," could this be a clue that the Ark was where God Himself dwelt among humanity? Forbidden ancient texts, copied in the Book of Enoch, suggest that messengers of light brought a sacred object from above to channel divine energy to mankind. Could the artifact archaeologists are touching today be that very relic, a celestial tool, or evidence of heaven's direct intervention in human history? Jerusalem is no longer just an ancient city. It's become a convergence of myth and revelation. Each new discovery peels back layers of fog, slowly revealing that perhaps the Ark of the Covenant never vanished. It was only waiting for the right moment to be found, when humanity is ready to face true faith. And that moment may be drawing very near. For the prophecies in Revelation say, when the Ark of the Covenant is seen in God's temple in heaven, thunder, lightning, and earthquakes will follow. Strange phenomena around Jerusalem, from fiery red skies to unexplained tremors, seem to point in one direction. The Ark is about to be revealed. Is this a warning, or a sign of the moment God returns to fulfill the covenant He made with humanity from the beginning? As ancient pieces start to fit together, people realize this isn't just a story of archaeology. It's a call to awaken, a reminder that faith doesn't lie in what we see, but in what we're willing to believe beyond reason. Because beneath Jerusalem's soil, the Ark of the Covenant may be waiting to be opened again, and when that moment comes, the world will never be the same. After the Ark was revealed beneath Jerusalem's earth, people thought the journey had reached its end. But in truth, it was only the beginning of something beyond all human understanding, prompting one explorer to cry out, "God is returning." From the darkness, faint vibrations began to emerge, unclear in origin, unlike any electrical or magnetic signal. Their frequency matched, eerily, the breath of the divine described in ancient Sumerian texts. It was as if the Ark were alive. The resonance didn't just travel through the air. It seemed to seep deep into everyone present. Some said they felt a pulse, a warmth, and a soft yet overwhelming energy that defied description. No one understood, only that they stood before a presence. Questions arose. Is the Ark of the Covenant truly an object, or a form of sacred life born from God's Word? Could it be the intersection of matter and spirit, earth and heaven, where human faith touches the energy of the Creator? Energy readings only showed meaningless numbers, but those there knew they were witnessing something holier than any law. The Ark didn't just emit energy. It seemed to listen, feel, and respond. In that moment, they realized this might not just be an archaeological find, but a reminder from heaven, a call for humanity to return to faith, to the spiritual life forgotten in a material age. Could that energy, the frequency of life, the echo of divine breath, be the first sign of an awakening? An awakening not just for the Ark of the Covenant, but for all humanity, preparing for the day the Lord returns in glory. As the archaeological team stood in awe, a series of strange phenomena began to unfold. Those vibrating frequencies didn't stop at mere anomalies. They carried other, deeply mysterious connections. The unimaginable happened when global research stations began detecting the same signal from two other locations: Aksum, Ethiopia, and Nabta Playa, Egypt. These lands, long tied to the history of the Ark of the Covenant, were now emitting the same type of energy, the same frequency, the same cycle. When the three sites were plotted on a map, They formed a perfect triangle aligned with the Orion constellation, referred to in the Bible as the gate of heaven of the Creator.